Hey, and welcome back to Merle Plays the Games. This is Merle. Thank you guys for jumping back into the wonderful world of Sons of the Forest with me. I really do appreciate it. It's been a while. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you got a wonderful holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. It's 2024, if you can believe it. Crazy 2024. So yeah, it's been a while, guys. I hope you guys, like I said, hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good. Survived the holidays. Didn't put on too many LBs. So yeah, I've got a handful of episodes kind of queued up, ready to share with you guys. But I wanted to take a little minute, and that may be all this episode really ends up being. I don't know. You're gonna see me walking. This is like walk and talk. So we're gonna do a little walk and talk. And what are we gonna talk about today? Well, if you've seen the title of the episode, which I technically haven't named yet, but I've got an idea in mind. And you guys may or may not have heard, if you're watching this channel, you've probably heard that, I believe we're like a month out, I believe, from the premiere, the release, full release, out of beta, out of early access, Sons of the Forest, the full release. Now, you can Google it, you can look around, you can watch other channels. I encourage you to do that. I certainly am not the foremost authority. My only knowledge and expertise on the game comes from just me playing it. And even though I haven't posted or I haven't uploaded anything in a while, I've continued to play the game a lot. I have been playing a lot with my brother, and he and I have had several discussions about the future of Sons of the Forest, and we have thoughts. We both have a lot of thoughts. We're twins. We're those twins that are. I'm basically, figuratively and honestly, almost literally, a carbon copy of each other. Similar opinions and whatnot, but with the release coming out soon, I was going to say there's a lot of anticipation for it. I think there probably is, but I don't know that. I guess I'm worried. I'm going to be honest. I'm worried about Sons of the Forest. There's a great YouTuber. I think I've probably mentioned him before. He was kind of the foremost authority on the Forest, and he's kind of the foremost authority on Sons of the Forest at this point anyways. It's been out a year, just not quite a year. I don't know if it releases on the 1 year anniversary, but we're talking 10-11 months it's been out. So let me start off by saying I think right now the state of Sons of the Forest is good. Is it great? No, I think The Forest is a great game. But I think the improvements that they've made to the building, I think, being able to use, we're walking on it right now, being able to build with stone, some of the improvements, to the upgrade system, our cool machine over there, they're teasing a lot of stuff. I think the release we're going to get is going to be, and this is just 100% my opinion, I think it's going to be heavily story based, which I'm thrilled about. Super thrilled. I think they came out and said that they had hired, and I can't remember the actor's name, somebody to play Timmy. And to announce who you've got to play Timmy makes me think there's going to be a lot of this guy talking as Timmy, which is great. Now, I think that's a good thing. I think it certainly piques my interest, gets my hopes up that there's going to be some good story elements added to the game. I think the story in The Forest was really interesting, but there was so much just teased. You know what I mean? There's so much that you just wanted to know. You didn't need to know everything, but there was obviously in The Forest there was a camp. There were people there in the 80s. There were clearly people there, I don't know, like decades before. So, you didn't really get all that information from. You didn't really get any of it. And there's not as much of that teased here in this game, but and they have made an attempt to connect this game back to the original Forest. and some of the items you can pick up, mostly emails, some drawings, paintings, that kind of thing. And that's good and well. I mean, I'm excited about that. But at the end of the day, the reason I return to the forest is because I love the building, I love the survival aspect, I love killing cannibals and fighting mutants, puffies, I guess, fingers and all those. And while I'm encouraged by the idea that there's going to be stories, I'm nervous about there being about the overall gameplay of Sons of the Forest, because right now, while I really do, I do love the game. I mean, you can't get in this game and not just be, every time I get in it, I'm just wowed, and you can't help but be. And you know, N-Night's done an absolutely amazing job creating this game. And again, I think they've done a great job with the updates. I think the updates they've done have been needed, warranted, and I think they've been good updates. I don't think everything has been perfect as far as updates, but overall, I think they've been good. But I've been sitting here talking for 8 minutes now, probably 6, 7, 8 minutes, depending on how much I edit out of my ramblings. And we've not seen anything. Nothing. Now, granted, if I was chopping wood, building something, it'd probably be different. It wouldn't be as big a deal. I'd be busy. I probably wouldn't notice that nothing has come in. No enemies have come in here. And I feel like I've noticed recently, especially since the last update, just maneuvering around the map, I feel like I've seen more enemies. And I think this is a big problem for the forest right now. I think that deer set this off. Man. Wow, that's loud. That's new. Huh. And I mean, I think when I think about the Sons of the Forest and I think about playing the game, the first thing I think about is that at this point, and I don't even, you guys have seen all that I've played in this series. We've got the shovel, we've got the shotgun, but we haven't been to any kind of real end game areas. We haven't beat the game. We haven't done any of that yet. So we've still got quite a bit to do, honestly, as far as the story goes. But that was what was so great about the forest, is you could do the story, but it was really the fun part was the in-between. And I think, you know, I've heard people suggest, you know, Farkit was one that I mentioned earlier, and I didn't really finish that thought, but, you know, he's got some interesting ideas. I don't necessarily agree with all of them. I think he's on the right track, though. And that's just that there needs to be, I don't want to say more content, because I think that's one of the things that N-Night's done well, is they've sort of given us these things that we can do, building, fighting, defenses, and they kind of just left us to our own devices, which I like. I like that freedom. I don't like games that you only get to go one certain area and you only have to follow this trail and you can't deviate off. I mean, there's some fun games that do that, but these are the ones, just like Sons of the Forest and the Forest, the ones that I love the most. So I'm definitely nervous that, I mean, again, I've just been walking around for almost, 10 minutes. Nothing has come down here. I mean, so I don't know what N-Night is going to do. I hope that they, and I've heard this mentioned several places, and I kind of agree with it. So here's some things that I think would be interesting. This kind of thing, or variations of these. The first one would be more enemies. Well, let me take a step back. When I play hard mode, that should mean immediately more enemies. When I play normal mode, less enemies, and they're easier to kill. Survival is easier. I feel like even in the forest, you didn't get more enemies when you played hard survival. It was just harder to survive, and the enemies were a little bit harder to kill. and you took more damage. And I want all of that, but I want more enemies. I don't want a constant onslaught. And I get that if that's something they do, I'm sure there's going to have to be tweaking done to it. I feel like, and maybe somebody in the comments can correct me, but I feel like when this game first came out, there was a lot of people who were complaining. I shouldn't say a lot, but there was at least a loud enough voice of people complaining about there being too many enemies. And I remember I had played probably, I don't know, probably like 15, 20 hours. And I just remember thinking, where are the enemies at? And one thing that I liked about the forest, and I'm sure this game is built differently, but one of the things I liked about the forest was that there was a couple of areas that you could build your base, and they were crazy busy all the time with enemies. And it made it a lot more of a challenge. It wasn't relentless, and you still got the really interesting, cool AI. Let's sleep. So even though there was a lot of enemies around, they weren't necessarily always attacking you, but there was a good chance they were going to. I think the mutants were better. I think the Armsies, even Potato Head, Potato Man, the Virginia, I enjoyed those more than I do. The fingers are fine. It's the Tommy John or whatever the worm one is. That's the dumbest. It's so dumb. I hate it. Took them forever to keep it from glitching into your base, and they finally fixed that. I mean, literally almost took a year for them to fix it. So more enemies. And it doesn't mean, and maybe do it. There are games, I think, what's a game that does it for sure? I think The Infection, if you've ever played that game. It's another, horror survival open world game. You can, if I remember right, I might be wrong, that you can at least have some kind of control over, maybe not the amount of the enemies, but the frequency. So I've heard people give the suggestion, and I don't necessarily disagree, for maybe that there should be like a Horde Night. If you ever played 7 Days to Die, there's a Horde Night. Give me a reason. That's one thing that my brother and I have talked about, is like, I have a defensive wall. It's pointless. I mean, it keeps enemies out, and it kind of helps you funnel them into my little doorway there, and that's kind of interesting. Who cares? Look, again, almost 15 minutes, and not a single enemy has come by our base. Not one. And, I've heard some complaints about, and I don't necessarily disagree completely with it, that the map is too big. We were all excited that the map was big. Man, we couldn't wait. Oh my gosh, it's going to be bigger. This is going to be so great. And it's not that the map is bigger. It's that there's not enough to do on the map. One of the updates here, one of the recent updates. Thanks, Virginia. You're the best. Yes, thank you. One of the updates, they put more things on the other side of the map. I say more things. I think there were some more cannibal camps. They were trying to sort of entice you to go to the other side of the map because everybody just played over here. This was sort of the closest. You didn't have to climb the mountain. The mountain gets in the way. I do think the mountain is a bit much right in the middle. Put it along one of the edges, kind of like the forest was. I don't think they're going to make those kinds of drastic changes, but it's a bit annoying. It deters you a lot from going to the other side of the map. So I think there needs to be more enemies. I think there needs to be harder enemies. And I think those need to be in some kind of a setting. I think the simplest way is just to, if you're going to play normal, then it's going to be sort of like the way it is right now as far as the number of enemies. And if you play hard, there's more. You play hard survival, there's even more. So there's probably more that you could, you could probably really get in the weeds on that kind of stuff. I'm not smart enough to do it. I'm just telling you, these are things I wish, when I play the game, I wish there was more to do. I wish there was a reason for me to traverse all the way to the other side of the map. Now, maybe that's story things. Maybe there's things that instead of it being in a cave, you have to unlock a shovel or whatever. You know, maybe there needs to be reasons for us to get out. And I mean, there are reasons to go to the caves, but as soon as you get done with the cave, you just come right back and stay here. Now, I think that encourages building. I love the idea of having a base, but I want to defend it. I want there to be a reason for me to build these walls and have all of this stuff. Really, the number one reason I built all of these little defenses is so I could do this. That's it. That's it. That's the only reason. There's no other reason. Cannibals would come in. There was enough room to move around and maneuver. I could survive them. It's really not that dangerous. So give me more enemies. Make Virginia not chase me around everywhere. So I'm nervous about what Endnight is going to do. I'm nervous it's going to be more about, we've polished this and that, and here's more story. Or it's going to be just a longer cutscene at the end. Or we're going to get a couple of extra cutscenes, and that's going to be the end of it. Because this game has so much potential. It has so much potential. And again, I don't want them to get gimmicky with it. But there are smart enough people there that have created this. We have a guy that helps us do things. He'll just do stuff on his own now. You can just have him take care of the base. Check it out. Hey, Kelvin, don't you walk away from me. Maintain base. And he'll just load things that are empty. He'll make repairs. He'll do all of that stuff, which is fantastic. And again, we are almost 20 minutes into this video. I've kind of just been dragging it out because I just want you to see 20 minutes. I don't have mods on. I have nothing on. My brother and I we use mods when we play. Mostly to be able to spawn in enemies because we don't have, because it honestly just gets boring. Now, we've used mods to build some really elaborate bases, some really cool bases, and we really enjoy it. For us, he lives 5 hours from me. He's my twin brother. We grew up together. We're like best friends. And I don't get to see him very often, so our way to kind of hang out and just chit-chat about life and sports and family and whatever in general is to just play the Forest, or Sons of the Forest. And so we build elaborate bases, but you're like, man, you're like, I've been playing for 20 minutes and I've seen no enemies. And so we just spawn in enemies just so we can have something to do. And I'm sorry, but a game this beautiful, this well made, should not be that way. So I don't have a lot of answers. Maybe it's more concerns. Because I mean, we can speculate till we're blue in the face. Mnight's not gonna watch this video and take my advice or do what I think. I mean, this comes out in February, people. What they're doing is done. I mean, there's no change in it. There's no going back. I mean, I guess they could push the release date back and if they get enough stuff, but I think they listen to people like Farkit. There's probably some other people, some other YouTubers I think they pay attention to. I think I think I saw somewhere the other day where, or maybe it was another YouTuber I was watching. It was the Outer Middle Show, Mad Vlad. He's another person, another YouTuber. I think maybe they pay attention to what he says. And he hasn't played this game in forever. And because there's just nothing to do. And he's a guy who used to make up reasons to play the Forest. So I think that Farkit has some great ideas. I think there's some other YouTubers that have similar ideas and similar thoughts, and that's basically just that there's not a lot to do. You can literally get in this game because you don't have to actually fight things in the Did she just jump over that? In the caves, you can just run through everything. You can get a lot of stuff without actually having to put in a lot of effort. of fighting. And you could very easily get to the end of this game pretty quickly. But the game is built to do this, to build a base and to survive. And I think the survival maybe should be a little bit harder. Now I don't want them to get crazy with what you have to do. I don't want to count calories and that kind of stuff. I wouldn't hate it if they did that. It wouldn't keep me from playing the game, but I just don't want it to get gimmicky. But again, guys, I'm getting ready to wrap this up because I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talk and just repeat myself, but I've just been doing it to prove. This is almost 23 minutes. 22 minutes, depends on what it is. Whenever I'll probably trim some of the fat, but nothing. And I typically will get more enemies, or, I mean, there's more enemies, it seems like, in the winter because they'll cross the ice. They don't have to go around. Sometimes they'll skip me or they'll miss me because they can't come across. 23 minutes, guys, and not a single cannibal. Nothing. Like, I want to go out. I guess I need to go out and just prove to you. I'm trying to find where the closest base is at. I don't know, guys. I'm nervous because I really, really love this game. I love it. I think it's so cool. I think there's some great stuff in it. We're gonna eat because we can't run very far without passing out. You know, like, that's kind of one of the reasons I just haven't got back into, or haven't made more of an effort to make more episodes for my playthrough, is because it's like, okay, yeah, well, I've already done all this stuff. You know what I've been playing? And I almost said this earlier, but I didn't. But I think I've been playing The Forest. I've spent a ton of time recently in The Forest. It's almost I don't want to say disappointing, but I'm just nervous. I'm so glad they hung this kind of stuff up. This is cool, but let's make other improvements. Let's have actual enemies. I'm still looking for some. And maybe during the winter they're more scarce. I used to think that, but then there are times where I feel like it's pretty normal, pretty equal. You know, I don't know. Well, I hear them. Well, there's one of the dirty ones, the muddies. There's some muddies. So, as you can see, there are at least some cannibals. I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. What do you guys want to see? I think between The Forest and Sons of the Forest, there's definitely a style of game that Endnight has found I think is successful. But I'm just a little bit worried that I don't want to say they've gone too big too fast, because I don't think the issue is the size of the map. I think that the issue is that there's not enough stuff on the map to make me want to go somewhere else on the map. And again, more enemies give me reasons to go to other parts of the map and to stay there, or to, I mean, I think it'd be cool to have a reason to build more than one base on the map. I think that would be awesome. Give me more enemies, give me more reasons to traverse around the map other than the caves. And give us, you know, a reason to get back into the game. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Keep your eyes open. We're going to have some more stuff coming soon. Oh, real quick. That's another thing they should do. Have animals that can hurt you. Put bears and wolves in it. You've got different, like, you know, it gets cold, you can go up in the snow. Have some different animals. Have bears. Have, I don't know, mountain lions, whatever. Snakes or something. Just give me something that makes it a challenge. Give me something that makes me want to come back and continue to play Sons of the Forest. I'm gonna continue to play it. I'm super excited and cannot wait for the release. We're almost 30 minutes in, guys. We've seen 2 enemies, and we had to go find them. It's got to be better. It's got to get better. All right. Thank you guys again for jumping in. Appreciate it always. Take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.